Hello and welcome to the Move Your Business Forward podcast. These talks are hosted by Boll, founder of Evoke Management and CEO of International Leaders UK. He'll be talking with experts from both these companies about issues that affect SME companies today.
Today, I'm here for another edition of our Big Squeeze podcast. This is a bit of a halfway through our campaign podcast, just having a bit of a recap of what we've talked about, and also having had the turmoil that's happened with the government recently. I think talking about uncertainty, the need to prepare for some challenging trading conditions and challenging market conditions over the next coming months. So I think it's a good opportunity to recap on some of the things we've spoken about and just share some ideas and thoughts that we think can help businesses in what they're doing. I'm joined today by two of my colleagues at Evoke, Ian and David, both regional directors at Evoke, responsible for talking to clients as a first point of call. So anyone that's struggling with a challenge or looking for assistance or looking for some external insight, first point of call. So good to have you here today, both of you. And I think there's some interesting things I'm sure we can share and talk about. Preparing for some challenging conditions ahead. What do you think, David? What should businesses be thinking?
Well, the first thing I think is that at least we don't need to watch soap operas anymore. And there's no need for Coronation Street or EastEnders. We just need to watch Westminster. Yeah. And I actually Googled earlier on this because I was thinking soap opera. Where on earth does that expression come from? And Googled it. The definition on the internet was soap operas offer the perfect chance to escape from either the breakneck chaos or humdrum monotony of our daily lives and dive into another world for half an hour. Well, there you go. If there ever is a soap opera, then it's watching what's going on in Westminster.
Exactly. Well, let's we'll bear that in mind. But and I agree. There's lots of distractions there, and I think most companies can just need to focus on what's in front of them, right? What's in their control, and start making some decisions and looking for opportunities.
Without a doubt, then recessions have happened before, difficult times have happened before, and every company in the country hasn't gone bust. There are things that everybody can be doing. Then there's a very old cliche around lemons and lemonade, and perhaps that's an easy point for people to start to think about. But instead of instantly disappearing off into diversification, then it's taking a closer look at what you're actually doing within the business at the moment. And if I think about a client that I've spoken to recently, a decent sized business turning over several £1 million, multitude of different products, but no real understanding as to which products make the most money for the least amount of effort and for the least amount of impact on their cash flow than during the manufacturing process. So going back to basics, and looking at those, then may well allow organizations to sort of redistribute where their efforts are, so as to create more money without major changes.
I think it's amazing, actually, the fact that we always seem to talk about similar things with businesses, because you think this stuff should be obvious, but I think people just get into bad habits and forget to look at these things closely or forget to revisit them. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Revisit the things you've got, expense base, process, margin, profitability, and make some decisions. And Ian, when you were running a couple of car dealer groups, you were all over the numbers, right, in terms of different metrics, KPIs.
Yeah, absolutely. Measure, and then measure it again. Make a decision, make the change, and then measure the change. I think, as Robert Green always says, one of our commercial finance directors, if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it.
Yeah.
He's absolutely spot on. I think also we talk about cost cutting, and it's a fact. You can't cut your way to profit. If you're just taking a knife to your costs or expenditure, you can actually strangle the business. You become into sales prevention or service delivery prevention. I think the clever thing and what a lot of people are doing is reviewing all your cost base, but getting a better return on the costs that you've got. If there's a cost that you don't need, then cut it down, absolutely. But any costs that you've got, just work smarter with those and get a better return, whether it be your people, your processes. Can tech save you? Have you got the right people doing the right job? Have you got the right process and procedure in place? Have you reviewed supply contracts? Have you reviewed business contracts with your major clients? Areas like that, rather than just saying, right, I need you to find me 10% cost saving.
Yeah. I fully agree. I think the other thing as well that I've seen a few times over the last couple of days, is companies that are just looking at where their client base is or has been, and if they should be looking elsewhere, or just things that are just alongside those clients, and see what opportunities are. One company involved with logistics, so just moving things around the UK, had a rapid growth through the pandemic with home delivery stuff. So anything to do with furniture, garden furniture, they did really well. That's kind of dropped off. And they've just picked up a bunch of new clients that are delivering energy saving heaters, solar panels, because that market's really kicked off as people are starting to invest in things. They were never delivering those things 6 months ago. Now that's all they're delivering, and they can twist like that, they can change like that, because they're nimble, they've got their eyes open, and they're looking for those opportunities. And they actually said to me the other day, we were kind of looking for new clients, and it was realizing that those clients were looking for us as well, and we just, perfect fit, let's go, let's work together and do this. And I think got to keep your eyes open, keep looking at where the trends are, and how can you, I don't like the word pivot, I don't think we've used it for a little while, have we, since the beginning of the pandemic? But yeah, just pivot and adapt to what's there and where the opportunities are.
Yeah, no, I agree. And another subject that came up recently is around payment terms. And of course, then when cash is tight, then the tendency for most SMEs is to start to stretch then how long it takes to pay their suppliers, which of course is a vicious circle, and we can all imagine where that leads. But if cash allows, and this particular company is not short on cash, then if cash allows, why not do exactly the opposite and ring suppliers and say, tell you what, I'll pay you early, but I'd like a discount, please. Then maybe you can get 10, 20, 25% discount, by paying that bill, then a week, 2 weeks earlier than your supplier was expecting. Great for the relationship that you have with your supplier, puts you in a marvelous place to when it comes to renegotiation, on the contract in months to come. And also is a pretty nice thing to do, to be honest.
But it is, and if you've got the cash there, and some businesses do have a lot of cash at the moment, which they're not necessarily looking to burn through, it's a great way to squeeze a bit more margin out of what you're doing, by just looking at paying early and seeing if a supplier's happy to honour that, for sure.
Sure.
Another
interesting issue for us to discuss is around incentivizing staff. How do you keep your staff loyal? And then at the moment, then the market is very much still an employees market. Then lowest unemployment numbers, since the dawn of time, apparently. Then so how are you going to keep your best people and stop them from jumping ship? And and loyal staff stay, when it's tough, as simple as that. So I don't know what you guys think around how open, then the business leaders should be with the rest of their staff as to how things are going.
I have a clear view on it, David. My policy is that 100% transparency. I always used to say to my staff, I had a team of about 130 people, and I would always do my cascade meetings and quarterly reviews, or the monthly cascade, and I would always say to them, I'll share with you everything I can. You also just need to appreciate that occasionally there'll be things I can't share with you, because it could affect an outcome of a business conversation. I think by sharing the numbers and strategy a lot more with your staff, they feel empowered, they feel part of the decision, but they also understand that. And I think, on that subject of sharing, if you're going through, I'd love to pay you a lot more money, but the company just can't bear it. Here's the reasons why. But this is what we're going to do to help you earn some more money. And you can look at, you say one thing is your cost base. And by getting the staff to buy in. They're all doing it at home, just getting into, you know, the costs of running the business. If they appreciate what the costs are, and you can, you know, say, well, if you can save £1,000 on expenses in this area, then I'll pay you, you know, a percentage of that saving as an incentive. If we can do it collectively as a business, there'll be a percentage of that saving. And whereas all the staff want to earn more money, this will be just a great way of funding, paying your staff more money. I think for me, just share and be open and honest with your staff.
Yeah. But I think part of this is just being clever with how you spend money, right? And I know many companies I've been involved with before, you know, doing business development, taking people out for dinners, lunches can add up over time. You know, maybe change it slightly. Maybe it's a breakfast. Maybe it's just more leaning on the coffee or doing something that's a bit different rather than racking up an expensive meal bill. You can cut costs all over the place if you're just clever about it. And,
yeah.
and if a business communicates,
I think one that's an interesting one, Rob. You know, if you think about one of the big costs we had as a business was travel, and the amount of money that got spent on travel and things associated with traveling. And one of the things we started looking at before all the pandemic came along was, well, you know, do that many people need to travel to that event or see that client or that meeting? And, you know, let's just have a look at the total cost of the travel and the numbers of people. That then we all got into the habit of Zoom or you know, virtual meetings, and then, you know, it's great. It saves a huge amount of money, but then because it's easy just to send out an invite, we have 10 people in a virtual meeting all tied up. What impact did all of those 10 people make in that meeting? Did they all need to be in that meeting? You know, you've taken up an hour of their time because you just felt it'd be good for them to attend the Zoom call or the Teams meeting. You know, I think that's another area that we've sort of, you know, where something that's really good as a cost saver, if you're not careful, we can turn it into a cost maker.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to consider the decision as to who you're inviting along the lines of, would you buy them a business class ticket to go to that meeting? You know, then, or would it just be you, or would actually a Zoom call have been sensible? Well, that's been one of the major positives that's come from the pandemic, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
And then good cost savings and acceptance, which wasn't there before. You know, that the video works, and of course, much nicer to your staff.
Yeah,
I think it's also worth looking at what others are doing. So what are your competitors doing? Because I think if you're competing against a couple of other, you know, other offerings, you know, and you're the only one that doesn't go in person, or if you're the only one that does go in person or is willing to go in person, you're going to have an edge. And I think it's worth just exploring what others are doing. I've heard a couple of clients who are in a strong position. They've got time, they've got some money. They've actually decided to just get on a plane and start seeing people they haven't seen because they want to do it. And I think if anyone does that, if anyone gets in front of someone they haven't seen for that long and makes that effort, you're going to build that relationship, because a lot of people I know are just getting fed up of the Zooms, the phone calls, and not actually seeing people in person. So I think it's getting a balance, isn't it? But having a purpose, having a reason. And
coming back to Ian's point, you know, then completely agree with you. Would you take all of those 10 people? You know, then with you on the train or whatever it might be? You know, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
No.
One thing I just wanted to kind of talk about and potentially wrap this podcast up with is we've obviously done a few topics over the last few weeks, and just reminding myself of all those topics. But we talked about margin, focus on people, best ways to improve productivity, reducing costs, top tips for reducing cost, and pricing. Yeah, looking at pricing strategy. And these are all podcasts that we've done with the Evoke team over the last few weeks. And I've been listening to a few of them again because I was thinking, hey, do you know what? There's actually some stuff in there that I thought actually I want to remind myself. And I'd encourage anyone just to go back and look at those topics and listen to them, because there are little nuggets there that are useful, can be brought into anything you're doing over the next few months, which are going to be useful. And they're little tips, little nuggets to educate your staff with as well. Ian, I know we were talking earlier actually, because you said you just listened to a couple. Is there anything that sticks out to you from any of those bits of content?
Yeah, there's several points really, and yeah, I in preparation for the podcast, I did re-listen to them and picked up things listening to them the second time, and I didn't pick up listening for the first time. Yeah, some good stuff in there. Marcus talks about social assets, which in essence is your people, and they all want to earn more money. Well, most people do. Also, they're sort of, why do staff leave, or they'll leave because they can earn more money somewhere else. Well, if you have a look at why it is they need to leave to earn more money, well, let's have a look. Why do you need to earn more money? By changing their working patterns, can you help them reduce the amount of money they're spending on, say, things like childcare, or travelling peak time, or just, again, if you've got to go to a meeting on a train, or you're wanting staff to come in for meetings, then when you can do it with off-peak travel, just a lot of those things really, by changing the hours the business operates. You talked about salary, putting up a 5% increase because everyone, we need to increase our costs, but sell the differentials of doing that to our clients. We should always. You talked about knowing what the competition are doing. One of the podcasts we talk about doing a forensic analysis of the competition. You should always do forensic analysis of what your competition are offering, and where do you have an advantage on that? And is it that we open 2 hours extra, as you say? There's a cost involved in doing that, but how much extra business is that going to get you, or market share is that going to get you? So by looking at those areas, equally there's a lot, and I think it came up on the discussions we're having around the work we're doing with employee ownership trusts and employee ownership schemes. Long people are often thinking, well, what do I need? Do I need more money? Do I need more time off? Well, instead of more money, they're giving them more time off. We look at the staff that we've got. If we can't afford to hire those more expensive salaried experts, have a look in your existing team with a bit of training and investment in those people. Is there somebody that can quite quickly step up, or with a bit of coaching and mentoring can do that role without having to go out and pay the higher salary to get those people? We can invest it in your existing assets. A lot of really good stuff come out of those.
And I think a big thing there is people just want the opportunity. They want the opportunity, or not knowing there's the opportunity there to progress. And anything that involves some additional mentoring, coaching, or training is really useful. I think the important thing is to ask your staff. Management needs to take the time to ask their staff, what are they looking for over the next 6 months, 12 months in their career, and then start planning around that. Because I think things have changed, things will change, and things might go back to how they were to an extent, but people have got their own view on that. And if you can accommodate those within reason, everyone's got to have a business that runs profitably and successfully. But if you can fit in these requirements around that, then perfect. It's just having this conversation.
I think it's also interesting when your discussion with Nigel Wood, and you were talking around compensation and benefits and paying people, and what's important to someone other than money. It used to be the old model of giving people some stock or stock options, jam tomorrow, whether people want more, more today. Really, it's interesting. If I look at the last, the 3 new clients I'm working with that we're talking to, a lot of the work we're doing for them is around their teams structure and compensation and benefits, and looking at what's the perception of a good compensation and benefits package versus what actual people want, and what's out there. What are the competitors offering? What am I offering? Where does that sit? What do I need to look at in other sort of benefits as such? It's quite a lot of work we're doing in that arena at the moment.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, David, anything you want to add from any of the?
I would just remind everybody that sometimes little changes can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And so looking at where savings can be made by maybe 1%, price increases by 1%, debtor days change them by 1%. Then look at all of these different things. Then and in fact, some of the tools that we have at Evoke and work very well with those with our clients.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that brings us to the end of this podcast. We've got some other topics coming up, talking about cash flow, getting your systems working better for you, using technology, looking at your client base and how to really improve relationships with clients. I'm talking about brand as well. I think brand is something that, it's a great thing to spend a bit of time on thinking, have we got this right? Are we consistently talking about the same brand across all our interactions with clients, suppliers, and everyone else? So some good topics coming up, and hopefully people enjoying listening to these, and encourage people just to listen to these and pick up some tips and topics, etc. So thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Again
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like more information about the topics discussed in this podcast, then you can find us on our website at moveyourbusinessforward.com.